Tonight in the Spotlight, what does the death of Osama bin Laden do to the current threat level? Today, former President George W. Bush said, "Earlier this evening, President Obama called me to inform me that American forces killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of the al-Qaeda network that attacked America on September 11, 2001. I congratulated him and the men and women of our military and intelligence communities who devoted their lives to this mission. They have our everlasting gratitude. This momentous achievement marks a victory for America, for people who seek peace around the world, and for all those who lost loved ones on September 11th, 2001. The fight against terror goes on, but tonight, America has sent an unmistakable message. No matter how long it takes, justice will be done." 9 years ago, after only a few months of chasing bin Laden, President Bush said this.
Deep in my heart, I know the man's on the run if he's alive at all. And who knows if he's hiding in some cave or not. We hadn't heard from him in a long time. And the idea of focusing on one person is really indicates to me people don't understand the scope of the mission. Terror is bigger than one person. And he's a person who's now been marginalized. His network is his host government has been destroyed. So I don't know where he is. Nor I just don't spend that much time on him, Kelly, to be honest with you. We hadn't heard much from him, and I wouldn't necessarily say he's at the center of any command structure. And again, I don't know where he is. I repeat what I said. I truly am not that concerned about him. I know he is on the run. I was concerned about him when he had taken over a country. I was concerned about the fact that he was basically running Afghanistan, kind of calling the shots for the Taliban. And but once we set out the policy and started executing the plan, he became. We shoved him out more and more on the margins. He has no place to train his al-Qaeda killers anymore.
Today, law enforcement officers have been warned that the killing of the man who President Bush came to regard as virtually harmless and marginal will likely inspire attempts at revenge by his followers. The State Department sent out a worldwide travel alert warning Americans abroad of possible reprisals, and American embassies are at a heightened state of alert until August 1st. Earlier today, Hillary Clinton said that the battle against al-Qaeda continues.
Even as we mark this milestone, we should not forget that the battle to stop al-Qaeda and its syndicate of terror will not end with the death of bin Laden. Indeed, we must take this opportunity to renew our resolve and redouble our efforts.
CIA Director Leon Panetta echoed that message in an email to agency employees. Though bin Laden is dead, al-Qaeda is not. The terrorists almost certainly will attempt to avenge him, and we must and will remain vigilant and resolute. Joining me now is former Congresswoman and chair of the Homeland Security Subcommittee on Intelligence and Terrorism Risk Assessment. Jane Harman is now the president and CEO of the Woodrow Wilson Center. Thank you very much for joining us tonight,
Thank you,
Congresswoman
Lawrence.
Give us a sense of where we stand now in the terror threat postures of the country. We heard George W. Bush in that tape talk about having reached a point where he seemed to think that Osama bin Laden was just a marginal character, not even worth spending any presidential time thinking about or trying to go after. We see President Obama actually get Osama bin Laden, and the country reacts in a huge way. Is the intelligence community in the Bush view of this, that it really isn't a big deal, or did something important happen?
Well, I find that statement of George Bush that you played surprising. I don't remember the statement. By the way, his statement issued last night or this morning about the call from President Obama was gracious and I think right on. And hopefully this will be a reset moment for our country and we can focus on unity as we came together after 9/11. But back to this, I was the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee for 4 years right after 9/11. Then I became the chairman of the Terrorism and Risk Assessment Subcommittee of the Homeland Security Committee after that. During that time, Congress was very interested in killing or capturing Osama bin Laden and Zawahiri, his deputy. I believe the CIA was, too. You mentioned earlier in your broadcast that it stopped its unit that was looking for him, but I recall it reorganized that unit into the Counterterrorism Center as part of a broader inquiry. So I'm surprised to hear that tape. I think that the terror threat has changed, to answer your question, Lawrence. Instead of a threat from a top-down organization, which was what al-Qaeda was, which is why I believed and still do, it was very important to strike the head that was Osama bin Laden, to kill or capture him, which we've just done after a really amazing operation yesterday. But now al-Qaeda, instead of being top-down vertical organization, is a loose horizontal organization with other affiliates that are as potent as what it does from various parts of Pakistan. For example, in Yemen, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP, is led by a fellow that I think most Americans have now heard of, Adnan al-Awlaki, who is an American Yemeni who is hiding out in the boonies of Yemen, who publishes or helps to publish a magazine called Inspire in colloquial English, and who has called on Americans using appropriate selective portions of the Quran, etc., to conduct jihad in America. And he's a very potent and lethal fellow. There also are important cells in North Africa, al-Qaeda in the Maghreb, and just Friday, the Germans arrested 4 al-Qaeda members intending to attack in Germany. So let's think a different kind of threat, a more loose threat, and let's think also opportunistic terror cells from other organizations that can attach, and we still have a big problem here.
When you were on the Intelligence Committee, did you get a sense of just how cold the trail was in terms of trying to catch Osama bin Laden? I mean, we heard the president just saying, and this is in 2002, saying if he's alive at all, saying who knows if he's hiding in a cave or not, if he's alive at all. Did you reach the point in the Intelligence Committee where you just didn't know if he was alive?
The assumption was that he was alive. We figured if he were dead, we would know that. Also, let's remember, we took our eye off the ball in Tora Bora in Afghanistan during our action there. Osama bin Laden was there. Most people would agree. This is public knowledge. And we didn't have the authorities right, and whoever was in the chain of command at the time who could have taken him out didn't have authority to act, and so he escaped. Yes, the trail went cold. I remember ongoing conversations about, and I remember I was part of them, can't we find a courier? We knew that he was no longer using cell phones. There had been the leak, unfortunately, of the fact that he was using Inmarsat phones. And once that happened, he stopped using that and just used couriers. And so our thought was, if we could find those couriers, which is what ended up happening, we then could trace him. And I think credit goes over three presidencies, not just to President Obama. I give him a lot of credit. But this started with President Clinton. Osama bin Laden was indicted in 1998. And I think this is the time when our country needs to come together and not rejoice here, but focus together on how we can win the argument against this kind of terror in the future, not just kill or capture on an ongoing basis, although this kill was the right thing to do when justice was served.
Well, you were absolutely right. Your instinct and your sense of it was absolutely right. The couriers were the key. Former Congresswoman and chair of the Intelligence Subcommittee of the Homeland Security Committee, Jane Harman, thank you very, very much for joining us tonight.